today from North Dakota, so I'm super excited to get into it. And obviously, this is a new series that we're doing. So each week on Time with Elyse, we'll be talking to a time capsuler about their time capsule project. Now, there can be people from all over the globe, social clubs, activists, schools, and families. We have people, all types of people on this show, and we want to explore their motivations behind creating the time capsule, as well as, the contents within it. So I'm really excited today to bring on Curt. He is going to be coming from University of North Dakota, and he's going to be talking about their time capsule. So I'm just going to bring him up into the show. But again, this is the Hidden World of Time Capsules. It's our new series, and we're really grateful that everyone's joined us. So here we go. Hi, Curt. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Elyse.
Of course, I'm really excited to get into this. I also want to talk about, of course, what the world's going to look like when we do open this time capsule. But first, for the people that just joined, tell me a little bit about yourself and then your time capsule.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned, I work at the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I am originally from Minnesota, moved across the border here into North Dakota, and I've worked in the archives at UND here for about 21 years.
Wow. Cool. Okay, so you definitely love the process of archival. So tell me
Yes.
how you maneuvered into time capsules.
Well, we recently had Memorial Stadium was the former football field that UND played football at, and it recently came down. It had been replaced years ago with a new stadium, and it was time for it to come down. So when it was coming down, the people in charge of taking it down realized there was a time capsule in Memorial Stadium, and so they made arrangements to take that out. And given that my department is the archives of the university, the time capsule was sent to us to be kept.
Wow. And how did they find that time capsule? I've had a lot of people, actually, you'd be surprised, find time capsules accidentally.
Yeah,
I'm always intrigued on how you guys even stumble upon them.
that's a great question because I didn't even know about it. Somehow in our UND facilities department, they made note of the fact that there was a time capsule, and they didn't even have to ask me to like research it in, say the student newspaper or the local newspaper, the Grand Forks Herald. They knew that it was there. They had an idea of where it was, and so they found it on their own. And
Wow.
it's a great thing that they had made note of that.
And do you know where it was? I know I spoke to someone recently who was in charge of an art gallery in New Zealand, and they found it in the walls when they were doing construction. Do you know
Yeah,
where it was?
that's where the Memorial Stadium time capsule was as well.
Wow.
It was like in a former cornerstone of the building. It was behind. It was a small little copper time capsule, and it was behind approximately 12 inches of concrete.
Wow.
So the stuff that came out of that time capsule was in great shape
Hmm.
because of the great insulation provided by the concrete. And up here in North Dakota, I'm sure you get it in New Jersey as well. It gets really cold and dry during the winter and very hot and humid during the summer. So the fact that it was well insulated made the things in the time capsule be in amazing shape, which I
Yeah.
was very surprised to see.
That's amazing. That's great. We see a lot of cases of people opening their time capsules and essentially it's like mush. So it's
Yep.
good that it was, insulated properly. So tell me, why is this time capsule meaningful for the University of North Dakota?
Well, Memorial Stadium was a big deal back uh, when it was dedicated back in 1927. It was after the First World War, which was obviously a very big deal, and it was the result of a very long fundraising campaign. And so it had been a focus of campus life, of activities within the state for many, many years. And it was the first time that UND really had its own football field.
Mm.
And so it was centrally located on campus. You couldn't miss it. And was the result of many, many people fundraising for many, many years.
And what were they fundraising for? The school?
Yes, yes, it was a specific fundraising campaign on behalf of the University of North Dakota to build the football stadium. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's great. So when they built it, they buried it in there, in the walls of them. Then you guys conveniently were able to find it.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, well, that sounds like a big story, especially for, a college and a football stadium. So, did you guys get any media interest?
Yeah, it was very interesting because, like I said, Memorial Stadium, even right now, you can't drive through Grand Forks and on the campus of UND and not come across Memorial Stadium. So
Yeah.
the fact that it was coming down was a big deal, which led to a lot of media coverage when the time capsule was found. And the university also did a great job because it formerly was Memorial Stadium and dedicated in honor of people who died in World War One. They had a very formal ceremony when the American flag came down. They read the names of the UND students who died during World War One, and so that, in addition to finding the time capsule, did lead to a fair amount of media coverage. It was a big deal here in Grand Forks when the time capsule was found.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And I like that you guys did something special for those students as well. Did you honor them in any way after that?
It was tough because that the stadium came down. The time capsule was found in March,
Hmm.
when we were still kind of grappling with COVID. So they
Right.
had a very formal ceremony, but interestingly, the ceremony was all online. It was totally a virtual event. You
Okay.
know, we very much had people, playing the national anthem and reading the names of the deceased. The UND president opened up the time capsule and showed everybody what was in it,
Mm,
but it wasn't a physical event that a lot of people could attend. It all took place online.
got it. Yeah, I
But
mean, we have to adapt in these times, so I understand that. But they were able to
yes,
open it on camera?
yes, yes, he did. Yep.
Wow.
We
So,
truly we had an event beforehand to kind of look through it to see what was in there, so there were no surprises.
pre-screening
But
event.
the very formal opening was done by the president on camera.
Wow. Okay. So, what did you guys find? What was in the time capsule?
Oh, excuse me there.
It's okay.
We expected that there would be newspapers
Mm,
because newspapers back in the 1920s were the main way that people communicated.
yeah.
Um, there was radio had just been around. There wasn't TV yet, so we fully expected there would be some newspapers, and there were. Here at UND, we have the student newspaper, which is called the Dakota Student. The Dakota Student had a couple of issues in there. We had a one issue of the UND Alumni Review, which was the main fundraising avenue for the stadium. In fact, was the Alumni Association, and especially in their monthly magazine. And then there were several issues as well of the local newspaper, the Grand Forks Herald. So, and then we also found, like a game program, a ticket from the very first game. So there were some other things, but
Wow.
very much the newspapers were the focus of the time capsule. And like I said, I was amazed at the shape they were in. They
Right.
came out in just as good a shape as if they sat in our manuscript vault here in Special Collections. It really was in amazing condition.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, all of them were just documents, right? They didn't have any objects.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, everything was a published document. There were no artifacts or ephemera or anything like that. It was all published documentation.
Wow. Okay. So, what are you guys going to do with it now?
Well, we have a well, you're gonna get into to archives here. We're an archives, not a museum. So
Okay.
we truly have documents and photographs and books that we want people to come and see and research, not necessarily look at from behind glass like you would at a
Right.
museum.
Right.
That being said, we do have a collection of UND artifacts, and we have added the time capsule and the contents of it to our UND artifacts collection.
Okay. So people will be able to see it, like new students coming in next
Yes,
year.
exactly. Yep. And we just recently last week it was, our libraries has went under renovation for the last couple of years. And so last week we had a informal campus open house for students, and we
Mm,
did have someone ask about the time capsule. And
wow.
so I sent them information about it and expect that they will come visit Special Collections in the future to actually look at the contents of the time capsule.
Wow. Yeah. So, okay. So you guys found this time capsule and you see that people, truly care and they're interested in it. So do you think you'll make, another one? Do you think the school would have any interest in making one um, right now?
Well, it's great that you mentioned that, because we did make another one.
Oh, wow.
Um, back in 2008, UND celebrated its 125th anniversary. And so there was a big committee on campus. It was led by our ceremonies and special events office, and they put together a time capsule for the UND 125th that will be opened at UND's 150th in 2033.
Okay. I
Now
didn't.
this one is a little different because it is. If you've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, it looks like the box that the Ark of the Covenant was kept in. It's a very beautiful time capsule. It was created from wood that was saved from old buildings on campus. It was designed and put together by our facilities department. It's too beautiful of a time capsule to be buried. So
Oh,
therefore, it's sitting in a very nice exhibit case here in the Department of Special Collections.
awesome. And
So,
like glass
UND
box.
in a glass box,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's very nice. It grabs people's attention when they come into special collections. And like I said, it's not the 1927 time capsule was like a small little copper box
Mm.
that got shoved into a wall. This is way too nice for that. So it's very formally on display here in special collections, and will be very formally opened in 2033 um, at UND's 150th celebration.
Wow. Okay. So what did you guys choose to put into the time capsule?
Well, like I said, that time capsule was a committee decision, and truly the contents of it are supposed to be secret. At
Ooh.
one point in time, I like I said, I was involved with the committee that decided what to go in there, but at one point in time I had a list of what went in there, but since it's designed to be a special unveiling, when the time capsule gets opened, I got rid of the list.
Wow.
So I know that there are, I remember that there are things from UND's 125th. We took a very formal picture of campus. Uh, uh, it was called the photo on the green, and it was like several thousand people, and we all said "Good Morning America" for the
Oh,
Good
wow.
Morning America show. And so we've got a picture from that. There are a couple of other things, but I don't know. Even if I did have the list, I don't know everything that's in it.
Okay. Yeah.
The one thing, the one thing that I'm really excited about, Elyse, is there was a very formal campus event when the time capsule was sealed, and everyone wrote down their predictions for the next 25 years. And so we've got predictions from several hundred people of what's going to happen in the next 25 years. And one of my friends who worked here at the library called me out in his prediction.
Really.
So yes, I've tried to get him to tell me what he put down, and he didn't say. But I know that in 2033, I'm going to be very, very interested to open that time capsule and see how my very good friend Tony called me out.
Well, I mean, it's good that you'll be around to open it because it's not too far away,
Yeah,
2033.
it's not too far away, but if for some reason I'm not here, I'm coming back. There's no way I'm going to miss that. And
Well,
like
it'll
I
be
said,
good.
it's a beautiful time capsule. It has a place of honor here in our department, and it's a beautiful looking thing that lots of people put many hours of work into, from the people who decided what to put in the capsule, but especially the facilities department, our carpenters who put this thing together.
Mm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
So,
I wanted to ask just because we know that, physical rot is one of the biggest enemies of time
yep.
capsules, as well as data rot, right? If you put in a USB or a video or an iPhone, a lot of people I know and talk to put in iPhones, but when they open it up, we might not even have the charger to that specific model. So there's a lot of things that you have to think about when you're making a time capsule. But what did you guys, especially, the people that put yours together, what did they do to ensure that, it wasn't going to rot away from physical rot?
Well, certainly the fact that I was as an archivist, I was on the committee. That certainly helped, and we were just consistently aware of that.
Mm.
There's nothing I think electronic in it at all. It truly is just documents and stuff and artifacts. And the fact that it is, um, you know, not it wasn't buried. It wasn't put in a wall somewhere. Everything that comes out of that time capsule in 2033 is going to be in great shape.
Mm.
You
Mm.
know, if it had been buried, that would even the Memorial Stadium time capsule. Like I said, it gets so cold here during the winter and so incredibly dry, and then during the summer it warms up and gets very humid. If that Memorial Stadium time capsule had been buried, the stuff that came out of there would have not been in good shape at
Yeah.
all. But
Yeah.
because it was well cared for and was in a wall, kind of safer from the elements, the stuff came out in great shape.
Yeah. No, I'm sure. I think people that do a lot of schools actually choose to do it this way as well, where it's kind of in hidden in plain sight, so
Yep.
to say. And people are able to look at it, and then that way too, you always remember that it's there because 90%, 80 to 90% of time capsules are forgotten about, or they're stolen, or they just do not survive to its opening date. So I think it's a great idea that you guys were able to put it on display.
Yeah, and like I said, it just is. We're a library, we're an archive, so we don't have a whole lot of kind of cool and exciting stuff. I mean, we've got some paintings on the wall and all that, but here we have this time capsule, and like I said, it's just beautiful. It's very arresting, from a visual standpoint. It grabs people's attention, and I love having it on display here.
Yeah.
Anything that I can do to, granted this event is going to be in 12 years, but anything I can do to kind of, get people excited about this event and realize that, hey, the university has a history. It's going to
Mm.
continue. We've got this event coming. Anything I can do to get people excited is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it really sets that future date for a reunion, which can be a
Oh
huge event
yes.
at the University of North Dakota. Yeah, you guys can. I've seen a lot of people do that. I think the beauty of time capsules is that it really is two gifts in one. Of course, the first gift, putting it together and making it and making sure it's all sealed. But the second gift is really opening it and seeing the treasures that are left in there, especially, something your friend is going to, put something about you in there and you're going to be able to watch or read it when you guys are opening it. So I think it really does set that, incentive to get together and make everyone very excited to see what's in it.
And I would think from a university standpoint, the 150th will be an even bigger deal than the 125th.
Yeah.
Like the centennial was a big deal. Not to say that the 125th wasn't big, but it's the hundreds, it's the 150s that it's a really big deal. So I know that when we get to that point in 2033, it's going to be a very formal event to open and celebrate the time capsule, and I'm very excited to take part.
Yeah. And I almost think it'd be such a cool idea to open it in Memorial Stadium, where it all began. You guys are in like the football field opening up this time capsule, to really give it that historical context.
Yeah. The university is the Memorial Stadium now. There's still a football field there. It still gets used as a practice field, and the
Mm.
university is talking about putting something there. So even
Oh,
though the formal stadium is not there, the site is still going to be an important part of campus going forward.
yeah. Well, it's really cool that you guys are able to do this. And, I have to ask because technology is changing, time capsule technology is changing especially. So, what do you think the world will be like when the time capsule is opened in 2033? We've had a crazy past 2 years, okay? I think about this question a lot, not even just with time capsules, but just in general with, all the flooding and the fire. So, what do you think the world's going to look like, especially at University of North Dakota in 2033?
That is a great question because COVID changed everything. I
I
mean,
know.
COVID has impacted every aspect of education and sports. I mean, my beloved Minnesota Vikings are are going to have fans back in the stadium this year.
Yeah.
After not having it last year, and we would have never envisioned that at the start of 2020 that all of a sudden something weird was going to happen
Yeah.
from from given the fact that we are the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks, I would expect that, campus, there will be some changes, but I think that we're still roughly gonna look the same. We've got about 13 to 14,000 students here. It'll probably be that same amount, in 2033. They may study different things, there may be different majors and stuff, but I think that our campus is likely going to be roughly the same.
Yeah.
But yet COVID came was a complete curveball out of nowhere that impacted everything. And
yeah,
well, I really don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
The more there's an old saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Wow.
I still think it's going to feel like the University of North Dakota, but certainly it's going to be different.
Yeah. Especially with certain schools opting to utilize remote learning via their laptop and their cell phone. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be a different college experience, but I didn't know if your school was doing that. I didn't read anything about that.
Yeah, no, we've definitely kind of switched to a more of a hybrid model.
Yes.
But definitely with the start of this academic year, and it just started a couple weeks ago here at UND. There's the students are definitely back, and we're doing face-to-face learning. But certainly there is more remote classes, virtual classes, than we've ever had before. But at least here at UND, the focus has kind of shifted back to the way it always was. Students going to classes and eating in the dorms and partying at the frat houses on the weekends, things like that.
Which is very comforting, and it's also a little insane, right? When we come back and we've just all gone through this collective experience and we're all thinking a bit differently, and then we're kind of back to normal. How do you feel about that?
It's funny. We say back to normal. I love that. And normal is such a fascinating word. I yearn for normal. I went to a movie on Sunday night for the first time in a year and a half. I love movies. So the fact that we may be getting back to normal, I think is a very, very good thing. I talked about the football and the Minnesota Vikings. I can't wait for the NFL season to be normal. Fans at watching baseball, going to UND football games, things like that. So it's going to be different, but I'm looking forward to a return to normal as much as we can get.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been a crazy experience, and I've had a lot of guests on this show kind of talk about their pandemic themed time capsules. So we had someone that was like Barry 2020. So we had people from all different countries write about their experience during COVID, because obviously they've all experienced it differently than we have in America. So do you guys think that you would want to ever do something like that? I know for a lot of freshmen too, it was like their first year was during a pandemic, and they're coming back and kind of learning the university at it's like a freshman level, but they're sophomores now. Do you know what I
mean? We had here in the archives, we work a lot with the UND history department. And the first class that history majors take is called History 240, the historian's craft. And last year, they created a virtual time capsule where they wrote down basically what their COVID experiences were like.
Wow.
How it affected their, back in their hometowns, how it affected their first or second year. Most people who take that class are freshmen or sophomores. And so it was a virtual time capsule in that it was truly just a bunch of Microsoft Word documents where people, talked about what COVID had been like for them. There were no artifacts or anything attached to that. It was truly just their remembrances of what it was like. And so we took those, converted them to Adobe PDF documents to keep them well preserved, and we'll add those as well to our university archives.
Yeah, I love that. I actually did a time capsule myself in the midst of the pandemic. I didn't write it down though. I did a virtual time, like a time traveler, which is just like a video. So I just did a video of myself talking into the camera and talking about my life, how I was living through. I think it was April 2020, so we were in kind of the peak of the pandemic. But yeah, it kind of like leads me to my next question. What do you think the future technology of time capsules will be? Because clearly we've been making physical ones, but there are options now to do digital time capsules where you're able to save a video. So in 50 years from now, I'm going to be able to watch this video of myself, young and going through a pandemic and talking about what happened to me. Hopefully, showing my children this is me when I went through this, and giving them that extra context that we've never historically, had when it comes to storytelling. So tell me a little bit about, your reaction to that and what you think the future will be in forms of, the technology that we use with time capsules.
I would think especially for institutions,
Mm.
like the University of North Dakota, Rutgers, I know is out in New Jersey. I would think physical time capsules are still going to be important to them because they're building new buildings
Mm.
and new football stadiums, and so it's still very common to put a physical time capsule in the walls in the cornerstone of that building.
Mm.
So I don't think that physical time capsules are going away anytime soon, especially for institutions, organizations, businesses. Now, individuals,
Yeah.
it very well may be more of a digital type um,
Yeah.
product because they don't, unless I suppose individuals can put a time capsule in the cornerstone of their new house, but you know, so certainly for individuals, I could see digital time capsules going forward, but especially for organizations, for entities like UND, there's still going to be something that we're going to have because it like you say, it's cool
Mm.
to pull out the time capsule when in 25 years and 50 years or whenever that building gets has to come down and see what they put in there. So the physical time capsule is still going to be a thing going forward.
Yeah, I could definitely see kind of both of them being utilized because I can imagine graduates going to get their cap and gown and then making a 30-minute video talking to their future selves about, they're right out of college, have their diploma in hand, super excited to go into the real world, and then to watch these when you're older and be like, wow, this is what I end up doing. This is who I end up marrying and that kind of thing. So I think there's a lot of benefits to both.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I definitely feel like these people that survived this, students especially, heart goes out to them. I can't imagine my freshman year being hijacked by a virus. So,
Yeah.
but I will say, I'd love to have their stories on file for hundreds of years so people can look back and say, wow, um, this is what people went through in the 2020 pandemic, especially, young people when they were in, the most formative years, the best 4 years of your life, that people kind of advertise and you're stuck at home with your mom doing Zoom University. So I'm
Yeah.
sure they're very interesting stories. I'd love to. You said these were going to be open in 2033, right?
That's right.
Wow. And did you
Yep.
make your own? Were you able to contribute?
Yeah, I didn't call anybody out like I was called out, but yeah, I put in some comments about predictions on what I thought the next 25 years were going to be like for like here at UND. Our hockey team is very popular, so I remember predicting how many more national championships our hockey team would win, things like that. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think sports are huge. And then, I mean, I had other people come on this podcast who kind of insinuated there might not even be a world come 2033 because of climate change. So everyone's kind of going through their own perceptions of what's going on. But hopefully, we're all around to see this time capsule be opened. I'm really interested to see what's in it. And I mean, you guys are, I think, the second school we've ever had on this podcast. So tell me, for anyone, listening that might be involved in a school or an organization, do you have any advice to give to them? I know the first time capsule you found, but the second one you guys made. So anything for creating time capsules, especially from someone who's an expert in, archival.
I would, first of all, especially from the perspective of an organization, an institution like a university, definitely put one together because, like I said, our UND 125th is going to be open on our 150th, and that's going to be a big deal. But it can, even if it just gets put into the wall of a new student building, for example, the new student center or whatever, when that building comes down and the time capsule gets removed and opened, it's a big deal. It's a wonderful event. It builds camaraderie, and it's, for lack of a better word, I use this word a lot up here. It's just cool, you
Yeah.
know. it's fun. It's just a great excuse to get together as a university or as an organization and celebrate something.
Mm.
And it's not necessarily athletic, where we're trying to beat somebody. It's just a wonderful excuse to get together and celebrate our heritage.
Yeah.
So, building time capsules is a wonderful way to do that and to build a sense of togetherness on the part of the organization. So, and certainly, if you're going to be putting the time capsule in the ground, you're going to have to just be aware of, what the condition of the stuff is going to be like,
Mm.
when it's opened up, and however far ahead that may be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited that you guys registered it. I also just want to quickly show you because I have your record pulled up on. So you registered it through the International Time Capsule Society, but Not Forgotten is the one that also helped. So I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Yep.
All right, for some reason it's a bit cut, so let me just. But this is kind of the time capsule that you have, and it has like a little bit of explainer. So you find it through the Worldcat. Now let me try to see if I can do something, just because it's a bit. Oops, 1 second. But have you been on the Worldcat before?
Well, see, Worldcat is something that we as a library use all the time.
Mm.
So Worldcat is very important for libraries. So the fact that the society makes a record of it in Worldcat along with Not Forgotten helping out is wonderful, because Worldcat is something that we use here in the library, and it's just great.
Oh, great. Okay, so yeah, it's really cool too as well. Your students will be able to kind of look it up since it is a library and you guys are a library, and be able to use this if they're talking about class presentation or anything like that. But it's super easy to find. You just type it all in. It comes up as University of North Dakota. And then obviously this is just kind of the I don't want to say receipt, but I'm blanking. But it's just this is what it is. But then you click view online, and that's when it really brings you to your main register.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is, I just wanted to show you that feature because, and for people listening, if you guys want to learn more about the University of North Dakota Time Capsule, that's where you would find it on the Worldcat, and then you click it and you have kind of, access to the press release, access to everything. And on the bottom is really cool as well because it has every single detail you'll ever need to know about this time capsule. So if anyone wants to cover it in school or just wants to learn more about it, it even says it's made of copper. This is where it's located. The contents are preserved in your library or Department of Special Collections, which is where you are. And then it's, has everything that's out. So this is through the International Time Capsule Society, which is also through Oglethorpe University in Atlanta. So this is where everything will be safe and secure. So, God forbid something happens to a time capsule, you seriously always have a record that it existed right here.
Exactly. Yep.
I think is great. And I just wanted to show you that before we logged off because it's super easy to find.
See, and I think that's an important point to realize, because as an archive, we don't want to preserve stuff and then have no one come look at it.
Right.
Our whole goal is to preserve and make available. So we want people to come, and whether it's look at the contents of the Memorial Stadium Time Capsule or look at our political correspondence, the original UND yearbook, things like that. We want people to come and look at the stuff.
Yeah.
And Worldcat helps us do that.
Exactly. And I'd love, you guys make that second time capsule. This is the perfect place to register it. I don't know if you took any photos of what's in them, but you can also put them here so people can scroll and see some photos as well.
Yeah, I took pictures of the outside.
Okay, perfect.
Of the capsule. But yeah, that one isn't formally been accepted yet, so it's still in process.
Okay, awesome. So that's just how easy it is to find it, but I just wanted to show you. And I'll link everything below when I send you this. But yes, Curt, this has been, amazing. Do you have any other things you want to say before we log off?
No, I just working with both of the time capsules was just neat, for lack of a better word. Just not your typical day, working in the archive. So it was fun and it was cool, and I greatly enjoyed it. And thanks for having me on your podcast.
Yes, no, it's been wonderful. You are our first, professional archivist that's been on here. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to seeing what's around the corner in 2033. I'm sure it'll be a lot sooner than I expect.
I know. Time flies.
Time flies, and the world's in this state. But I'm glad that you guys could do something. And I'm glad that you also chose to have individuals write about their experience. I think it's going to be, very valuable content to read back, especially when they're, telling their kids that mom and dad survived COVID their first year of college. I think that's going to be really cool.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to email you over everything. So this could be streamed on a bunch of different services. But thank you so much, Curt. I hope you have a good one.
Okay. Thanks, Elyse. Bye.
Bye. Okay, guys, that was Curt from the University of North Dakota. Very cool. Always fun to have a college come in and talk. So when you guys see this, we will link everything below that you need to know. It'll be available on Spotify, on Google, on SoundCloud, anything that you guys stream, you'll be able to find this. So again, thanks so much. Next week we'll have a different guest, and we'll be talking about another time capsule. This is a series hidden